Welcome back everybody to another one of my aviation history videos, and this is episode 50 in my history of the RCAF. Now today we're going to be looking at the history of 448 Squadron, an extremely short-lived unit formed as a test and evaluation squadron in 1967. But as always, before we get too far into this video, my name is Sean and this is Sean's Aviation. Now also, just quickly before we jump into the main meat of this video, I want to let everyone know I do have memberships available on the channel now. So if you go down below, you can click on the join button. It'll take you over to the different options that are out there. Different levels of membership will give you some different perks, early access to videos, priority messaging, even some really cool free stuff I'll ship out to you if, depending on, again, on what level you join. No obligation. Please don't feel like I'm pressuring you. That's not what I'm doing. If you don't feel like joining, you can do the simple subscribe and hit that notification bell, let you know when it's coming out. That's all free and lets you know when more stuff is coming out and helps the channel overall. So on that note, let's jump into the history of 448 Squadron. So as mentioned, 448 Squadron was formed as a test and evaluation unit, but before we can look too deep into 448, we need to take a look at the history of RCAF testing units as a whole. So the RCAF has had a test unit since the beginning of the service. When the Air Board was established in 1919, it deemed all flight testing to be carried out at Air Station Ottawa, what we know today as Rockcliffe, with a satellite field at Shirley's Bay for flying boat testing. By 1930, this had evolved into the RCAF test flight based at Rockcliffe, and with the explosive growth during World War II, became the RCAF Test and Development Establishment in November of 1940. In 1946, it was renamed the Experimental and Proving Establishment, and it had two sister units, the Winter Experimental Establishment, WEE, in Edmonton, and the National Research Council, NRC, unit based in Arnprior. The WEE was created during World War II to test aircraft in, not surprisingly, cold environments, and the National Research Council unit was a detachment of RCAF personnel used to support the Flight Research Department of the National Research Council. In 1951, all three of these units, the Winter Experimental Establishment, the National Research Council unit, as well as the Experimental and Proving Establishment, were merged to form the Central Experimental and Proving Establishment, or CEPE, based at Rockcliffe. Now in 1954, the Air Armament Evaluation Detachment, AAE, was formed at RCAF Station Cold Lake in northern Alberta. Now in 1957, CEPE moved its headquarters to the newly expanded RCAF Station Uplands, where the longer runways were better suited to the newer jet aircraft that were being tested. Now, if you could follow through with all of that confusing acronyms and history, this will bring us to the formation of 448 Squadron in 1967. It was formed from the personnel and equipment of the AETE, the Air Armament Evaluation Detachment, in Cold Lake, and lived in Cold Lake and continued to support the CEPE's actions in weapons testing using the closely located Primrose Lake Air Weapons Range, one of the largest weapons testing ranges in the world. In February of 1968, it was absorbed into the newly formed CAF, but this was also its downfall. In June of 1970, it was decided to merge all of the RCAF and RCN, Royal Canadian Navy, test units into one entity, and 448, CEPE, as well as Navy's VX-10, its test and evaluation unit, were merged to form AETE, the Aerospace Engineering and Testing Establishment, thus ended the short use of the 448 Squadron number. AETE was still based in Cold Lake to take advantage of the earlier mentioned firing range. It tested all aircraft in the military's inventory, as well as provided initial testing for all new systems to be integrated into these airframes. Now, at one point, it did include a dedicated fleet, including a CT-114 Tudor, a CF-18 Hornet, and a CH-146 Griffin, all in their in-house white, black, and red scheme. Now, recently, with the staffing shortages that the RCAF is seeing, as well as the difficulty they have in retaining experienced pilots, it was decided to move AETE away from Cold Lake. And in 2019, it was decided to bring it here in Ottawa, and it's going to live here in a newly renovated Hangar 14, just a few doors down from where CEPE used to live, which is now demolished Hangar 10 down the way. Now, moving this to Ottawa will also free up space in Cold Lake for the newly arriving F-35s, as well as bringing them closer to both Transport Canada and the National Research Council, which are based just over here, and creating almost like a national aviation test center of excellence here in Ottawa, where they can share resources across the multiple sites. So this is actually a net benefit for multiple units by moving AETE back to here. Now, while 448 only existed for a small number of years, its legacy will be continued here by AETE well into the 21st century. So on that note, I'd like to wrap it up. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time.